lovelies, it's Kate. Welcome back to another speed build and thank you so much for tuning in. So I decided to build a base game starter home, and this is a first on this channel and a first in general for me, because to be honest, back then when the base game was released and when I played without cheats, sometimes I like to do that, sometimes I just like to cheat a lot of money and I just build a huge mansion. You know what I'm talking about. So even back then, when I decided to build a house without any cheats, I never actually built a proper starter home. I just built a weird box with a roof on top, and then I just kind of sectioned off a bathroom and I just placed some furniture, but it was never really a proper house because, at least for me, it's really difficult to kind of only use 20,000 simoleons and build a proper house. So the definition of a starter home is that you can create a sim in CAS, and this sim gets 20k simoleons by default, and then you can just let the sim move in right away without having to earn money, and you can just move in and start your game, and the house has anything your sim needs: a bed, a TV, a kitchen, a dining table, and just the basics really, because 20k is not much. I think when you create a second sim, you get something like 2k on top of that, so in total 22,000 simoleons, but I decided to build a proper starter home that only cost 20k in total. So the house itself only costs 18,500 simoleons, but of course you also have to pay for the lot, and I built this on a 20 by 15 lot, and the lot cost 1,500 simoleons, so this comes to a total of 20,000 simoleons. So you can create a sim and let him or her move in right away. So I decided to build a very kind of basic, kind of American looking, cute little house. The shape is very basic. I decided to incorporate some round shapes. You guys know that I love that, so I just used rounded foundations to create this round shape in the front. And here I'm starting to work on the floor plan. So let me tell you something. I have really tried to improve my interior designs over the last weeks and months, because back then I really focused only on the interior design before I made videos, but I used CC, and I think that my interiors back then were kind of decent, but only because I used CC they kind of looked like something that you would see in IKEA probably. But then when I started to play without any CC, when I started to make videos, it was kind of a rough transition for me to furnish without any CC, and I've really worked on improving, and it's a lot of fun to furnish. But hear me out, this is a base game starter home and you don't really have that much money, so the furniture is very sparse. I really only included the basics. This is what a starter home is. You don't really have money to really add lots of decorations and a lot of furniture. You really just have the basics: a bed and a kitchen and all these things, and a bookshelf, so your sim has some entertainment, and this way they can start out. And then when your sim starts to earn money, you can just furnish it a little bit more, and you can just sell the cheap furniture, because in the beginning you only really have money for the cheapest stuff, which is also why it's not really high quality and doesn't look that good. But then you can kind of work on that, and I think the good thing is that even though this house is pretty small, it still has a decent size for a family of 1 or 2 sims, and you can just simply replace some of the furniture with more high quality stuff as soon as your sim makes money. And here once again I decided to incorporate some round shapes. I'm using the infamous base game debug brick, and I recently learned on Twitter that this is apparently a bag of flour, which kind of makes sense when you look at it, but I had no idea, to be honest, what this is even supposed to be. But yeah, I just used them to create a round shape once again, and then I placed some flowers, and at this point it got really hard to kind of decide what to use and what not, so I had to sell a couple of things and replace them. At first I placed a chimney that was quite expensive, I think around 600 simoleons, so I had to replace that. I kind of had to sacrifice some things to really make this work, and this is really the challenge with a build like this. You really kind of have to set your priorities and have to check what to get rid of and what not. And my best friend for this build was once again the debug menu in general. As you will see in the end, I placed some stuff on the walls just to decorate the exterior, and a lot of the debug objects are completely free. They don't cost anything. You can find a lot of stuff that is like 0 simoleons, which is amazing. I found a wood plank, for example, that I used, and there is this picture. It's just a piece of paper basically. I think it's called Picture in Progress, and it doesn't cost anything, and you can just place it on a wall and create different things for this. I had used this object for my garage tutorial back then. And here I'm starting to work on the back of the house. I added a piece of foundation and some stairs just so your Sims would be able to leave the house in the back basically. The garden is completely empty at this point. There is just a section of lawn with a fence around it. But once again, this is just kind of the start of your Sims life. And at some point you can just add more stuff. And here I'm using the wood plank that I mentioned earlier, the debug object, and this was so much fun. Just looking through all the base game debug objects and seeing what might work. As you guys know, I love to use a extensive amount of shelves on my exteriors usually, just so I can create some type of custom freeze. And of course I kind of had to really turn that down a notch for this build, because shelves are expensive, especially when you use a lot of them, and usually you really have to use a lot just so you can really merge all the edges together so it looks like one frieze or something. So this gets expensive quite fast, just like using rocks, so I couldn't do that for this build, but using the wood planks was just some type of alternative. At first I only used them at the bottom in the flower bed, as you can see, but later I'm also going to add some of them just to the house, so it almost looks like some type of windowsill. And here I'm using a debug object called Picture in Progress. It's really just a white piece of paper, as I said, and you can actually just enter that in the search bar. Once you've activated the cheat bb.show hidden objects, you can just enter Picture in Progress into the search bar and you will find this. Some debug objects don't have a name and they are just called debug, and then you may have a really hard time finding what you're looking for, but this specific object luckily has a name, really easy to find that. And now just adding more stuff, I'm just looking through the debug menu and see what I might find, which was a lot of fun. As I said, this was really cool because I really maxed out my budget at this point and I felt like there was something lacking. I really wanted this house to look as cool as possible, really wanted to add lots of details because you guys know that I love to do that, and this was kind of a fun way to make this possible. I'm also going to remove some of the base game debug bricks in the front just so the sim will be able to actually walk in the front yard, because I'm going to place a bench there. I just felt like I had to add a bench, and here I'm adding more wood planks on the exterior, as I said, and I think it's just amazing what you can find in this menu. I've looked through this 1,000 times, but still there's always something new, fresh and exciting. I just love the debug menu. I can really recommend this. Here I'm adding the bench and just some last little details so it looks nice and wonderful. And if you let your Sims move in, I hope that they have a wonderful start in their life and that they will be very successful. And in case you want to download this slot in the gallery, you can find it in the Sims 4 gallery. My ID is KateEmerald, but I'm also going to add all the information down below in the description box as always. And I would like to say thank you so much for watching. I hope that you will have an amazing week, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.